Mark, pleasure to talk to you. We'll start on Tuesday night against Sheffield Wednesday. A few days on now, how pleased were you with that performance?
Well, I said immediately after the game that I was really pleased with the overall performance and the individual performance levels that we hit. It was important that we did that. We're up against good opposition, and I made a lot of changes. But in fairness to the guys that came in, each and every one of them were excellent. Made a real statement, really, in terms of them wanting to be part of what we're doing, and I'm giving them that much game time, a number of them, but I thought their performances were really good, and that's really come to me for me moving forward, because we're going to need everybody. It's an old cliche, but it's more relevant at this level than any level, because it's a long, hard season, and players will lose form. God forbid they'll get injuries as well, so you need a squad to be able to cope with that. And I think the difference this year is the depth that we have. If we do get significant injuries, as we've already had, then we still got good quality to come in, and that's important if we're going to challenge for the place in the league that we want.
Just touching on a couple of those players, Timmy Adesina got his debut. How pleased were you to see him finally out on the pitch?
Yeah, Timmy it's been a difficult start to his Bradford career. Obviously missed a lot of post-season work. Obviously with the transfer, and there was a little bit of to and fro between the clubs, so he missed out on a programme of work leading into pre-season, and then he got injured, then he got COVID. It was like one thing after another, but he's fitting well now, and I think everybody saw from his first performance what a good player he is, and what he'll bring to the side when he plays. And we're pleased that he's at a point now that he becomes an option for us.
Jake Young as well, 2 impressive goals. What do you make to him as a player, and how he played in that match?
Jake did really well. He's getting better every time he plays. I think initially in his early games, maybe his decision making wasn't quite right on occasions, but he's worked on that, and we've talked that through with him in terms of what he needs to do just to create a little bit of space for himself. Once he gets into his stride, then he's very difficult to knock off the ball, and he's really adept at hitting that ball with his right foot from the left-hand side, as his goal illustrated, and he's adept on the other side as well, because obviously he scored the second from the opposite side to the first one. So, yeah, I think he's really growing into the club and his role within the club, and when he's asked to perform, then he's starting to make an impact in every game he plays. So that's important for him and for us.
Leangol, we saw him come off the bench and playing a more central role than we used to see in him. You've obviously got plenty of players in that striker's role. Do you see him as a viable option there as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Lee did really well for me in that role towards the end of last season, and this season, very viable option there. Technically, very, very adept at retaining possession, and Lee is a very, very good player. At times, he probably needs a little bit more physicality, because he's a big guy and he needs to use that physical presence that he's got. But as a footballer, I really like him as a player. He's technically one of the better players in the group. So he's a player that's important to us.
2 new faces arriving this morning. We'll touch on Tyreek Wright in a second, but Dion Pereira first, a player that you saw a bit of last season towards the back end. Did you always know that you wanted to bring him back into the group this season?
Yeah, we hoped to do it. We didn't get too much encouragement after the season ended, if I'm honest. And Dion had a really good pre-season with Luton, and got really close to the first team, and it looked like he was going to be part of their plans moving forward for the season. But last couple of weeks, that situation has changed, and we were aware of that. So we've always kept tabs on his situation at Luton, and we're always asking to be kept informed if he was going to be allowed out. So that seemed to accelerate the last couple of weeks, obviously with conversations he's had with his parent club, and the opportunity came only in recent days to actually pursue it, and thankfully it's happened. He's in today, first time. He's got a big smile on his face like he usually has, and he looks absolutely delighted to be back, and we're all really happy that we've got his services for another season, and he's obviously a crowd favourite. Everybody loves seeing him play, and looking forward to working with him for a longer period.
You mentioned the smile he had in his face there. Is he a player that you're hoping will add a lot to the squad, both off the pitch as well as his ability on it as well?
Yeah, he's very popular within the group. That was part of the reasoning behind trying to get him back again. He's got undoubted ability, but he's a great personality around the place as well. So that's important when you bring in players in from other clubs. You're never quite sure how they will integrate, but there was never any danger of Dion being a problem in that regard. He's well thought of. He's a good player and he's a great personality.
And Tyreek Wright comes in from Aston Villa. Just tell us a bit about him and his background as a player and what he's like.
Well, he's got good experience at League Two level. Been out on a number of loans, and he comes to us with a real understanding of what's required at this level. So that's important. I think sometimes when you pick up young players, if they're first and second loans, then it's more of a risk. But Tyreek knows the level. He's got good ability, quick. Probably gives us a little bit more pace than we've obviously had before, which is important for us. It's probably one area that we haven't got an abundance of pace. We've got good pace, but not out and out pace. But Tyreek will give us that. So I'm pleased with the options we've got. We've got a good variation in all our forward players and players playing in forward areas. So that's important. As we see the season pan out, and we're beginning to suspect that a lot of teams will come to Valley Parade especially and try and frustrate us by getting people behind the ball. So we're going to have different threats and different type of players to find a way through, and the two guys that we've added will give us different problems that we can set opposition teams.
You mentioned depth there. Is it important with two signings like Dion and Tyreek that they don't just add depth to the squad, but quality depth as well?
Yeah. We don't bring poor players in just to make up the numbers. I've got good numbers, lots of numbers. So, but every one of them has a role to play and will be needed this year. So, the quality has to remain the same. Ideally, if one good player goes off the field or whatever, or is not available, then another one comes in and replaces that player. So we're in that position now. I don't think Bradford City have had the strength and depth that we have this year than in recent years. So that's really important. I think your first 11 can be strong, but if a lot of teams can lose players, and then that depth isn't quite good enough. But that's not the case with us.
We'll both be in contention for Walsall this weekend.
We'll see how they go. Tyreek is up to speed. He's had a number of games in the last couple of weeks. Played full 90 minutes, so he's up to speed. Dion had a little strain, I think, a couple of weeks back, 3 or 4 weeks back, but he's been training for 2 weeks. So they're both an option.
And is that your transfer business done now, as far as you're concerned, or is there still anything
pretty
in the
much,
pipeline?
Yeah, I don't anticipate any more coming in. Be very surprised if any go out, but never say never. But no, we're quite comfortable with where we're sat here. It's not a case of a late night order of Papa John's. I don't think we'll need them tonight. I think most of our business is done.
Moving to Walsall then at the weekend, what are you expecting from them as a club to bring to Valley Parade?
Well, they're a good side, strong side, and we'll have to be our best. I think if we play really strongly in terms of what we talk about week in, week out, about what we try to do in terms of affecting the opposition, then if we're at the right levels, then I think we'll be difficult for Walsall. But once again, it depends how they approach it. I think they're good enough to come and back their own ability to have a go against us. But we'll have to wait and see. Other teams have surprised us in that regard and maybe disappointed us, really, when they've come and just parked the bus. But we'll have to see what their approach is. We can't dictate that. It's about what we do.
And just finally, their manager Michael Flynn, obviously a former Bantams player. was in charge at Newport, now at Walsall. What have you made to his coaching career so far?
He had a really good time in Newport. Obviously, I used to keep an eye on the Welsh clubs, and he had a really good time there. Really enhanced his reputation, and has obviously moved on now, and he'll be wanting to make an impression on his new club. So he's a very accomplished manager at this level. So I've met him previously, just briefly, I think at a Welsh game actually. So be good to catch up.
Cheers, Mark.
Obviously, coming in when you did in February, this has been your first transfer window. How important has it been to build a team that you want, the Mark Hughes team at Bradford City?
Well, that was the aim. Clearly, summer window gives you ample time to really understand the market and try and get players over the line. As you know, we did a lot of business very, very early, and we were pleased with the quality of players that we brought in. And you see a number of the players that are moving now, which a lot of them are players that, as a group, we talked about and discussed, and maybe said no, not quite what we're looking for, but now they've become available, and teams seem to be scrambling around getting players over the line. But we're quite comfortable where we are. We're delighted with the business we've done. We feel we're in a good place with good variation to whatever I decide to do come each Saturday or Tuesday or whenever we play. So we're excited what's ahead of us, and I think it settles everybody down. Everybody knows where they're going to be for the next few months, and that's important so that we have that continuity in terms of faces.
And having done that business early, it's allowed you to bring in players like Scott, Dion, Tyreek, and not have to totally disrupt the group. The group is basically set there, and they can just come in. Yeah,
they've been added to embellish the group, and we think that's what they'll do moving forward. It's important that the loan deals you do have an impact, obviously. You look at Kean Harris as well. He's going to play a bigger part in the next few weeks, I'm sure. So they all will have an impact for us. So I think it was always about making sure we were stronger at the end of the window than at the beginning, which clearly we fundamentally are.
Cheers.
Saying about, as Pete was saying, obviously the window, Mark, I mean, did you envisage at the start of it that you'd be probably having to make, 17 signings? Did you envisage it would be that many?
No, not really. We obviously had some recontracts within that as well, and other players that maybe we would have, absolutely we would have re-signed, but weren't able to negotiate that. So there's always that churning in terms of personnel. So you have to deal with it the best you can. But it does give you an opportunity because a lot of players leave, and there's opportunities to bring a number of players in. So you can shape the team probably easier or better or more readily than maybe at different levels I've managed that, because sometimes, absolutely at Premier League level there isn't that much churn as there is in League Two.
Which is great for a new manager coming in, though, isn't it? Because you can put your mark on it, you can mould it how you want, and it's your team from top to bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, see what you get now. Yeah, it is my team. Yeah, I'll be judged on my team, which is fine. As I said, I'm quite comfortable with the quality that we've been able to bring. The lads and Ryan and Stephen Gent have done a really great job making sure these things get over the line, and I have a small part play, obviously, in terms of saying yes or no to these players, but it's still a process to get them over the line, and it takes a lot of negotiation, so we've done really well in that regard.
I was going to ask about Stephen Gent. Obviously, it was an appointment that you were very heavily involved in. It took a while, and I mean, he's been very busy, hasn't he? And looking at the record, he's obviously done a very good job. Yeah,
well, that's when I first met Stephen. Obviously came to my house, and we pretty much did a formal interview, and myself and Ryan were really impressed with his knowledge. Of whenever we mentioned a player or plucked a player out to try and trip him up, he knew every one of them. So he knows his subject. He's really passionate about the role that he has, and that comes across in his enthusiasm and his determination to get the best players he possibly can in front of me to say yay or nay. So it's working really well at the moment. On a personal level, he's a great guy, and the whole team, myself, Glenn, Ryan and Stephen work really closely together to make sure we get the right players.
And having that building that trust with him is so important, isn't it? Because you know that if he brings you a player, it's not going to be wasting your time.
No, they're going to be at the right level. Yeah, he understands now in the short time we've been working what level I'm looking for and what qualities I'm looking for in players. So that obviously helps him in terms of when he presents a player. He knows the level that I expect, and for the most part he's been able to deliver.
And so you spoke earlier in the summer about sort of saying you've had sort of more hits than misses in terms of the ones you wanted. Most of them you managed to get. I mean, the fact that sort of you got Dion at the end almost sort of puts the cherry on the cake in a way. I mean, was it? I mean, I know we spoke a week ago and you sort of weren't too optimistic. You said Luton trying to place him a bit higher. I mean, when did you sort of sense that? Hang on, we've got a chance here. Was it literally the last few days? Or?
Yeah, it was probably. I would say Monday, early Tuesday maybe was the first inkling that we had of it. So it's obviously moved very rapidly, but that's a lot to do with Dion as well, because once he understood that he wasn't going to be in and around the first team squad at Luton, then he wanted to play football. He just loves playing football. So the options for him were ones that he wanted to take, and he always, you feel, had something in the back of his mind that he would always want to come back here. So I think that's because of the experience he had last year and the good feeling that he had from the club and the supporters. So as a player, you never forget that, and to get the opportunity to come back just makes sense for him, makes sense for us. He's going to hit the ground running. He knows exactly what I expect from him, and he just loves playing in front of Bradford City supporters. So we're going to get that opportunity again.
I was going to say, you touched on the personal side. I mean, people sort of say it is a business and you want to go to the best club and what have you as a player, but clearly when there's options, that does come into it, doesn't it? If you realise how much you enjoyed it, how they made you feel welcome, how the whole place felt right.
Yeah, and he's still in the process of developing his career and trying to get to the best level that he can. And as I said many times, we're a great option for players because we're a good platform, we're a proper stage. You have to be a good player to be able to play in front of big crowds, and you've got to embrace that. And a lot of teams will look from afar and see how well players do at Bradford and think, yeah, he can handle it at a different level. So players consider those things, and we understand that. We're part of that, and we can benefit from it. But first and foremost, it's about enjoying your football, and Dion knows that when he's playing well in front of our supporters, then he just enjoys the experience, and that's why he's here.
Obviously, you mentioned the outs. You probably said at the moment it looks unlikely today. I mean, but presumably there will have to be at some point some outs because of the numbers. So there's going to be a situation where players aren't going to be getting on the bench, aren't they? No,
but yeah, there might be situation after win the close. Obviously, there's opportunities National League level. There's opportunities there outside of our window. So if we feel players would benefit from going out, then there could be possibilities of that. But we're not looking at that at the moment. We're trying to have a really successful season. That means doing well in all the cup competitions. I've shown my intent, obviously, in the Carabao. We're now out of that one, so our focus goes on the other competitions that we're in. So I showed, obviously, Papa John's that I think historically we probably haven't done as well as we needed to do. So that's going to become more of a priority this year than maybe other years, just because it makes financial sense to be able to do that. And alongside that, because of the squad we got, I think we can do that.
All done.
Marvellous.
Cheers, man.
No problem.